country-oriented one with Big Time Grain Company and Hudson Drive. You highlighted that one, and what do we know about them?
They are, well, Big Time Grain Company is two brothers from rural western Kansas, grew up on a farm. Their father invented some kind of weed eater farm tool. And he should take it around, pitch it places. And from what I read, the boys, at some point when they became competent musicians, they would add music to it and
to the presentation,
I guess. And they became interested in it and started playing guitar and other stuff. And had been in a couple of bands before they formed this one. And I've listened to it. It's very modern country. It's with a little bit of traditional in there.
Right. Not quite pop country.
Well, it's like
it's still pop.
Jason Aldean. It's
right.
Luke Bryan. It's
right.
Dierks Bentley. It's
current country.
Yeah, it's sort of what's on the country charts. It's what bro country. That's what they call it.
Right.
But it's really. There's videos of them out there. They're like a big 5 or 6 piece band, and they really lean into it. It's a good time. And then the Hudson Drive is sort of along the same flavor. Yeah. So it's a country show, start to finish, and it's free.
And I know you have some affection for that type of music, but maybe not what we're getting now from Nashville and mainstream country.
Yeah, I don't really have much affection. There's some Dierks Bentley, his first or second record. There's some stuff on there that's really well crafted, and it's not singing about driving your pickup truck down a dirt road with this 12-pack in your car and your dog next to you and picking up a hot girl. It wasn't just all that. And
Friday Night Football.
Right. and it was more traditionally arranged, too. There's fiddles and dobros and pedal steel, and that's the kind I like. It doesn't have to be. Right. And there's a band called Turnpike Troubadours from.
Yes, we've talked about them.
Yeah. See, that's the kind I love.
Right.
Although I hear that band may be in peril.
Oh, really?
Yes, there's some internal issues.
Always a shame when that type of thing happens. Crossroads also on Thursday has Mudfest, headlined by Puddle of Mudd. There's a local connection with Puddle of Mudd, Park Hill graduate Wes Scantlin, and he's gone through some trials and tribulations through the years. How familiar were you with him in his formative time, or weren't you?
No. Well, so his story was somehow this band had been around for a while, at least 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
And somehow a demo tape of theirs got to Wes, what's his name? Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit, who liked the music, said he was interested in signing the band, liked Wes, and told him, get rid of the other guys. I'll fill the rest of the band. Take you down to Gainesville and we'll make a record, which he did. And there was a lot of hurt feelings about what happened.
Right.
One of the guys in the band, if I remember right, actually went down. It was sort of a little bit of a
tussle.
Consultant.
He was sort of involved with the project,
and then went to L.A. That was so long ago. But I think in the end, everyone said, you know what, he did what he had to do. Who's gonna? This band has just been kind of puttering along for a while, and
right.
And they did they put out that record. It went multi-platinum, and they were playing arenas. They were opening, but then they were playing theaters, and they were huge for a while. And he made a ton of money, and then the second record came out, not so much. People were kind of over them, and
right.
And then he just sort of self-destructed for several years. He was in trouble. Was accused of lip syncing at shows. He would leave in the middle of a show, stalk off stage, or one time the band didn't show up for a show. He would throw stuff and be abusive to fans. And then, there were just other issues. I think the last one I read about, he ended up in a luggage carousel at LAX,
like sleeping in it, or
I don't know. He wasn't supposed to be there, but it's just he's been arrested again.
You're right.
But then again, I guess about a year ago, he announced he'd been sober for a year, and haven't heard anything bad about him for 3 years now. So they're working on a new record, and I guess I'm going to go out just to see what they're about, because they're
Right.
they were, for a band that kind of came out of here. Actually, only one of the guys was. I mean, what happened to them was the local band was dissolved, and they took the lead singer. And
Right.
So, but there's a local connection, and they were huge for like 2 or 3 years.
It's somewhat of a standard rock and roll story or challenge in the fact that many bands have a singer, songwriter, lead, front man who, in many regards, to the untrained, or maybe in some regards it's accurate, is the band per se. Everybody needs a drummer and a bass player and maybe a keyboardist. That must always somewhat be a challenge when one person is such a central figure. I often reference Mark Knopfler, my favorite from Dire Straits. He fired his own brother who was in Dire Straits early on. So, I mean, there's always dynamics like that, but that's probably one of the most stereotypical challenges of having a band in the rock music world.
I mean, I remember when Tom Petty put out his first solo record.
Right.
The Heartbreakers were heartbroken. Like, I think Mike Campbell worked on it, and maybe one of the other Heartbreakers added a little bit in the studio, but Petty was just like, I just want to do something different. I love my band. It doesn't mean I'm getting rid of them or anything, but I'm sure if you're that guy, you must have the urge to
Right.
play around with other people.
Right.
I mean, like Rob Thomas is another example. I mean, the difference between his solo stuff and Matchbox 20 is like nil. So
Right.
I don't really see the difference, but
Right.
Maybe
You're not exploring anything per se. But
maybe you're just paying this other band a lot less. But yeah, you see that. I guess it's I guess I'm not privy to stuff behind the scenes. I don't know. There are
Right.
bands where everyone contributes their own stuff. They
Right.
figure out their own parts. Or
Well, I remember there's a story, not recently, but I recently read it about Billy Joel's drummer for many years was Liberty DeVito. That was his name. And he tried to sue Billy for writing credits. Like, he was saying, hey, we go into the studio and we're all contributing and, whatever. And really, in reality, Billy Joel had written the songs and the music and the lyrics and everything. And so basically he said, screw you, you're fired. And it's a pretty dumb thing for the guy to do. Now, in some regards, every group is a compilation of ideas, but if somebody comes in there and they've got the song and then you work on it, I don't see what you're trying to get a writing credit for. At least that's the way the story went. But that was interesting, and that was the end of him as a drummer, a very lucrative position, to say the least.
I think you'd work that out going in. Like, whatever, these are my songs. I get all the publishing rights, and
Right.
And yeah, I guess it's who else was I thinking of? That well, Springsteen went on his own a few times,
Right.
And yeah, I just want a different muse and a different vibe and a different.
But when he did that, it was usually the music was a little bit different.
Yeah, it was for sure.
Yeah.
Not always better, but
Right. That's true.
I mean, Tunnel of Love was probably, I think, his best solo record.
Right. Very good record.
Did another, like The Human Touch, which
Right.
not so much. But
Right. Let's talk about one of the unique figures in all of music, visually and everything else. Crossroads on Saturday is George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic. Certainly, maybe some of the antics and the appearance takes away from the fact that there's real good stuff there.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen them twice. If you've never seen them, and you must know a little bit about his music, because it's like the psychedelic funk,
Right.
From another galaxy. It's just really, it's so way out there in the costumes and the choreography, and it's like nothing ever stops. It's just constant movement, constant music, and it's kind of a jam band scene, because there's these really long forays into,
Right.
acid, funk, psychedelic, jazz, everything. It's
Do you like it?
yeah, I do. I mean, I can't, like 3 hours is too long for me.
Right.
So pretty much for everybody, like maybe not Tom Petty or Prince, or Springsteen, but after about 2.5 hours, I'm like, okay.
It's sort of like my feeling. This is going to be wildly unfair, but it's kind of like my feeling about reggae. I like, to have a little jam of reggae for 2 or 3, get me past about a half hour, and I've had about enough.
That can be pretty monotonous, yeah.
Even though I like the subgenre as a subgenre, I guess that's sort of my feeling.
Yeah, but he's just somebody. If you appreciate good music and you appreciate music history, he's been around forever, and this ensemble's been around forever. I mean, musicians rotate in and out. I mean, if you look at the Wikipedia page for like past members, it's like scroll. But it's hard to keep something like that together. And he comes by here, like, if not every year, it's every other year, because it's at the point where I'm like, well, I won't see him this time, but I'll see him when he comes back next time, because he always does, which is testimony to him for keeping it going.
Right, no doubt. And keeping it going is at Starlight, it'll be another sort of moment in time type of show from the late 1990s into around 2000 with Third Eye Blind, Jimmy Eat World, Rah Rah Riot. At one point in time for 18 months or something, I was a big Third Eye Blind fan, quite a big one. I liked their breakout record. I thought it was good. I thought Send Me Charmed Kind of Life was okay. I liked it, but I really thought Jumper was a great song. And so they'll be there leading it off. Let's talk about that little genre there. This is sort of slick pop rock, maybe fitting into the station on Sirius is called Pop Rocks, actually. And I like listening to it. It's not all good, but I mean, it's kind of a genre that maybe sort of holds the test of time, but then maybe sort of doesn't. I don't know.
It's kind of like soft rock with an edge, like yacht rock-ish, because it's all really pleasant, and songs are well crafted. I saw them when they first came out, and I think I wrote, they were part of this, there was Matchbox 20, there was Hootie and the Blowfish, and those bands don't sound necessarily similar. Toad the Wet Sprocket, but they all had this sort of same vein, or it was, it was pleasant. It was
sort of it was more sort of a modern version of power pop, somewhat, but maybe a little edgier. I don't know, or not edgier, depending on where you fell.
The thing about them was they fell like a lot of those bands do, just kind of fell off the radar screen completely. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, Third Eye Blind started to tour again, and they would sell out the Uptown, and it would be like this huge deal. It would be sold out, and there were all these mostly women who were there to just sort of remember those songs. So maybe I'm not in tune to what those songs meant to their target audience back when they were released, but so they played at P&L and filled that place, and so they moved up to Starlight. So there's something going on with them, this revival that is sustaining itself.
When you saw them, were they good? Was the band good live?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I associate them with, and the Counting Crows are another band from that era. Like I said, I'm not comparing their music necessarily, but they seem like they came off the same, I don't know.
It's off the same printing press, sort of, I get what you're saying.
But those songs are pretty durable. You're right. Those songs hold up pretty well.
Right. Jimmy Eat World has always seemed to be sort of more to me like a one-song type of band, but I know other people think that, maybe they're much better than that.
Oh, I would see. Yeah, I can make that case. They're I've seen them. They're fine. They're power pop punk, super energetic. I mean, that one song, The Middle, gets played. It's in commercials now, but yeah, they're...
What isn't?
You're right, I know. They're, it's kind of an odd... This whole trio of bands is a little odd because they're not really... There's no affiliation among them. But it's going to be a way of filling the place and getting people to say, well...
I don't know much about Rah Rah Riot.
They're sort of like... it's very like chamber pop, orchestral pop. It's electronic. It's sort of nebulous. Like I never really sunk my teeth into them. But, I heard a song or two that I liked, but yeah, they're they sort of add to the weirdness of this